I've been working through all of my Book of the Month books, and this one I got fairly recently, Blackwood's Blue Sky by Owen Ivy, and unfortunately this ended up being a DNF for me. I know it is magical realism, I know it is a fairy tale, I knew that going in, but the suspension of disbelief that is required to get through this book was too much. So we are following Birdie, and Birdie lives in an Alaskan town, and she works at like a bar, restaurant type place, and her life has just not been everything that she really wants it to be. And she has a little daughter named Emmeline, and Emmeline is 6. One of the things that I found that made it difficult to get through this story was Emmeline tells a lot of this story. And I'm not really a big fan of children telling stories because the storytelling has to be really kind of stripped down. And I found that in the sections where Emmeline is talking, which is quite a lot of it, the sentences are very short and choppy, and there's not really any good flow. Think The Room by Emma Donoghue, which I loved and hated. I liked the story, but the narration made that book so difficult to get through because it was told by a young child. As someone who likes to read adult fiction, I don't really want a story being told by that young child because I think it takes away a lot of the observations and understanding of what is going on. So the other thing that really kind of struck me about this book, which is supposed to be kind of a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, I believe, is that Birdie meets this man, and without much buildup other than he visits her cafe and has some physical disfigurations. He's missing an ear and has a big scar on his face. The only real buildup that we have is that he comes to her cafe every morning and gets coffee, and then she sleeps with him, and then they move to his cabin in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, only reachable by plane, with no electricity, no running water, no toilet, like no nothing, with her little 6-year-old daughter. Maybe I'm the only one who's ever seen On Frozen Ground to read this book, or read too many stories about Alaskan serial killers. But from that moment on, kind of the story was ruined for me because I kept thinking, what are you doing? The thought process doesn't make any sense. There's no, she's supposed to be a mother and she's supposed to be taking care of this little girl, and yet she moves her to the middle of the Alaskan wilderness with like no help, no support, no nothing. There's not even a floor in the cabin, which fine, I get it. Some people really like roughing it, but they don't really like roughing it in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, only reachable by plane, with their small daughter, with a man who there's no buildup to this relationship. I really tried to stick it out, thinking, maybe there's going to be backstory, more sort of building up of this love story that is forming between this man who is like the Beast character and is actually like a bear, a werebear, or I don't know. It didn't make it quite that far. I made it. I even got the audiobook from the library and tried that, and I made it to about like 3 hours left of the audiobook, and I just couldn't. I don't care. There wasn't a lot of buildup of the characters other than Emmeline, the 6-year-old, and I just didn't care what was going on with this relationship. I did not care about the circumstances. I wasn't invested in the romance. I wasn't invested in the story at all. So I just made the decision that I'm not going to continue. I'm going to DNF and move on to something else. Have you read this book? What did you think about it? Were you able to suspend your disbelief and go with it? Let me know what you thought.